Good afternoon. We're so glad you could join us today. I'm Jenny Garmon, the Library Civic Engagement Specialist, and I'm delighted to bring this presentation to you with Rhiannon and Troy.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rhiannon Johnson, and I'm the Career Resources and Financial Literacy Specialist at the Kansas City Public Library.
Hi, my name is Troy Wulfemeyer. I am a financial coach with Metro Lutheran Ministry and also the supervisor of our FSA IRS tax filing site.
And we're going to go ahead and turn off our cameras because we want you to be able to focus on the information we're sharing. And please do share any questions or comments you have with us. We're sharing our contact information at the end of the presentation. This tax season is much like the previous tax seasons during the global pandemic, although this is the first year we haven't had enough volunteers to provide services at the library. We want to help you file your taxes, so we're going to be sharing resources and tips to help you get it done. We'll cover a lot, but you will have this recording and resources shared with you after the presentation. We're also available for questions, and like I said before, we'll share our contact information with you. So what are we going to cover today? First of all, we want to make sure that if you don't have a bank account, you have one. We're going to share information about Bank on Kansas City and how you can get a safe and affordable account. You'll see throughout the presentation why it's important for you to have one. We're going to answer some questions you may have about credits or stimulus payments, what documents you'll need to file your taxes, and where you could go to file your taxes, because there's different ways of getting help. You can have one-on-one help, you can have virtual help, you can have a guide on the side while you file. We're also going to show you the IRS website and share some ways to get started if you're ready to file on your own. Before you get started, and I'll invite Rhiannon to jump in here with me, one of the things you'll want to do is roughly estimate your income, whether it's above or below $73,000. You might wonder why $73,000? Well, that's the adjusted gross income for 2021. That is the limit for IRS free file and some free tax preparation assistance. Did you know that's about 70% of taxpayers? I thought that was really good.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Jenny. So one of the reasons why these are so important, these gathering all your tax forms, storing them in a secure place, whether it's physically or electronically, knowing if you've had any life changes that alter your tax situation, and making a plan for next steps, whether you expect a refund or if you anticipate you might owe taxes. It's really important to kind of have these pieces lined out in advance of starting your taxes. It just makes everything a little more smooth for you as you go through the process, especially if you're taking them to get some, again, Jenny referred to it as a guide on the side assistance, or even if you're doing them on your own, using a self-file option, it will help you be more organized and have all that information at your fingertips so that you have it all ready to go, and that when you're prompted to enter a certain piece of information, you already have it. So kind of gathering this information prior to kind of even starting can be really helpful to help keep you organized and on track. The other thing that you'll want to do before you get started is to make sure that you have a place. If you anticipate that you're going to get a refund, it would be good to know where that money is going to go and how you're going to get that refund. One of the important things along those lines would be having an established bank account. And so I'm going to touch a little bit on Bank on Kansas City. It's an organization here. It's a coalition in Kansas City where they've partnered with financial institutions to ensure that they have certified accounts. So what a Bank on certified account means is that the account is safe, it's low cost, and it's functional. So you can kind of see those little pieces down at the bottom where they don't allow for overdraft fees or non-sufficient funds, so you'll never be hit with a surprise fee. The cost to open the account is minimal as well, so you don't have to have a stockpile of money or something like that to open a bank account. So those are some things to check out. Make sure you have that bank account established, because that's the quickest way to get your refund if you're receiving one. And then I think the next slide here will tell us a little bit more. Here are some of the banks that have partnered with Bank On. And so you can check out their sites. You can also visit bankonkc.org. Down at the bottom there, you can see that URL, and that will take you to their website, and they'll give you some more information about these certified bank accounts.
Thanks, Rhiannon. If you're just joining us, we are recording this presentation, so we're just asking to keep your mic muted and your video off so we can protect your privacy. We're hoping to have time for questions at the end of the presentation, so thanks very much. Thanks, Rhiannon. We're starting tax assistance, tax preparation services with the full-on services. And I'm really happy to share that the Kansas City Metro Tax Coalition, which is sponsored by the University of Missouri Extension, they pulled together some amazing tax experts that will help you file your taxes. 211 is your gateway to these services. You'll call 211 to make appointments, and those appointments are available either virtually or in person. But there's some eligibility requirements. We had mentioned $73,000 previously for these programs, which are volunteer income tax assistance. Your income needs to be $58,000 or less, or if you're 60 years or older, or if you have a disability, or if you speak limited English. Those are some eligibility criteria for this. But this is one of those services where you will meet with a tax expert and you will bring those documents, and that tax expert will file for you. Another option is with AARP Tax Aid. These are services that are available, again, in person, excuse me, in person or virtually. Just like everything else that's free of, that we're talking about today, it's free of charge. They do, if you're familiar with AARP, you might be thinking, oh, that's only for older people. But they are available to anyone, but they do have a special focus on taxpayers over 50 and those who have lower or moderate income. One of the things about tax aid is every year they are IRS certified and trained. And they go through a very rigorous process. We have two options pretty close to us here in Kansas City. And we'll be including in a resource packet for you, a way for you to go online and make an appointment and find other locations. They do have several locations in the Kansas City area. So what if you're ready to file your taxes and you're not sure if you wanted to go to a tax expert and just hand over all your documents? Maybe you just need a little help. That's one of the reasons why I'm so happy to have Troy with us today, because he will share with us how it works at Metro Lutheran Ministry.
All right. So if you are fairly computer literate, you're not afraid to be around the computer. This is our first year at Metro Lutheran as being a FSA site, a facilitated self-assistance site with the IRS. So we have been through the training. We are certified to be able to help. And you would bring in all of your materials that you would need to file your taxes with. And then you get access to the Tax Slayer software, which is the IRS version that they provide. And then I would be here as the coach if there were any questions about how to use the software, if you had tax questions. In many cases, it's things like I share custody of a child, who gets to claim the child? Well, there are flow charts and graphs and pictures and arrows and all kinds of fun things that we can search our way through to determine eligibility for some of those different situations. But that is, again, for someone who is, you will be filing the taxes. I would just be here as a resource for you to help you through that. And that's the difference between us and the VITA sites and the other sites through the AARP, where they will actually go through and file the thing for you. I did want to touch on having a bank account and the importance of that for the direct deposit of any refund and so forth. I talk with the IRS on an almost daily basis. They are still for those that have to have an actual check written, they are still processing 2020 returns that are needing an actual check written. So if you would like to see a refund, if that's what you're expecting, the quickest way to get that by a big factor here is going to be to have it direct deposited, which is going to require that ability to have an account of some sort. So these definitely are things that go hand in hand. So I think that's everything you need to know about what we do.
Thanks a lot, Troy. I really appreciate that. We're going to share a little bit. It's not all on Troy to do this facilitated self-assistance. I know Troy is awesome. There are others here in Kansas City who can assist as well. So the Kansas City Metro Tax Coalition, which you mentioned before, that they have this full service with the tax expert. You bring all your documents and the tax expert files on your behalf. They also have guides on the side available, and these are the dates that they are available. They are only available virtually, like where you'll meet with Troy in person when you have an appointment. With Kansas City Metro Tax Coalition experts, you are meeting with them virtually. And you do, of course, need to make an appointment. You call not 911, sorry. You'll call 211 to make an appointment for these virtual guided tax filing opportunities. One of the things I wanted to bring up is maybe you're in a situation where your internet connection at home is not stable, or you don't have an internet connection at home. One of the things that the Kansas City Public Library has are community connection rooms, and they're available at Blueford and Southeast and Northeast branches. And the reason to bring that up to you is because you can reserve them and have a private space where you can bring your documents and have one of these virtual meetings for filing your taxes. And in the resource packet that I've linked in the chat, and that I'll of course send out after the recording, or send if you're viewing a recording, you can contact me to have that resource. I've included a link to how you can reserve one of those rooms. It's really easy, and the staff, of course, are amazing. Another place you can go, AARP Tax Aid, as we mentioned before, they have tax experts who you can meet with, but they also have that guide on the side and a way to make that appointment with them online. They also have, like where IRS has free file, or where the tax counselors, that the guides on the side use TaxSlayer, AARP uses online taxes for you to file a free federal and state return. So one more place is, I think this is amazing, that Kansas City has our very own IRS office. They are a tax assistance center here in Kansas City, and this is a lot of information that's on here, but just to give you a better idea of what they could actually help you with. This little help is not about being a guide on the side. This help here is if you have some specific questions about tax law or economic impact payments, or assistance with that Affordable Care Act tax revision, something like that, they are available for you of course, by appointment, and the number is up on the screen. It's 844-545-5640. And one of the things I thought was amazing is that they are going to be open on second Saturdays. They started this in February, so that people can receive additional assistance here in Kansas City. Again, you'll need an appointment for most things. They will, I think, on second Saturdays be available for walk-in help. The next available second Saturday is March 12th, and then we'll have April 9th and May 14th, and those hours are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Also, if you're ready to file on your own and you just think, I just have this one question, or I just wish I knew this, the IRS has built the interactive tax assistant, and it's something where you can, by answering some prompts, figure out, do I have to file a tax return? There's a lot of reasons why you'll want to file one this year, but whether or not it's claiming a dependent, or if you can detect expenses, this is a really useful tool. And that's also linked in the resource packet. Okay, so deep breath. And hey, there's a lot going on today, a lot going on in the world. I almost feel like we need to take a pause here and just stretch and take a deep breath, because here we've covered everything where you can get help. But maybe you're ready just to strike out on your own. You're ready to rock and roll with filing your taxes, and you just want to get started and say, let's just do this. So irs.gov is where you want to go. And I've got some snapshots here of the page because I really want to highlight for you that it's that easy. It's irs.gov and file right up on your left-hand side there. And they do have different languages available on the right-hand side, so that should not be a barrier for you. Also really want to highlight that there's additional information under that individuals, so that you can see more information if you are a student or you claim a student as a dependent, or if you're a parent, or if you are a senior or retiree. So please make sure and check those things out if you're looking at that, or even as you're preparing to meet with a tax expert. Let's get started about the documents that you're going to need. And I'm really grateful. Rhiannon put together a checklist. We've sliced it up so that it's easier to talk about, but that checklist is available online at kclibrary.org, and it's also part of the resource packet that's linked in the chat, and that will be sent out to folks who ask for it. So for personal information, you need Social Security numbers, full names, and birth dates for everyone on your return. And when you meet with a tax preparer, you're going to need your driver's license information or a photo ID for you and your spouse, if that applies to you. Here we go again. Feel like we're kind of emphasizing this a lot, but it's hard to not emphasize it. That bank account information for direct deposit, including those your routing and account numbers. And of course, you can find that on a blank check. Oh, one other thing. And Troy, if you wanted to just chime in, I know we have on here a copy of last year's federal and state return if available. Would you recommend if people bring more if they're available?
Not unless you're expecting problems. It's generally that copy of the previous years they use as you're filing to ensure that it's actually you. It's an easier way for them to say, what did you have on line 37? And you can type that in and it's like, yes, it's you. They have other ways to do it if you don't have those returns available, but if you do have them. And the other advantage is it also lets you know of what type of information you had last year when you filed. So it's a lot of times people will see that on the last year's return and go, oh yeah, I did have that form, to remember to make whatever addition onto their income or on their expense side. So it's helpful if you've got it. If you're using the tax layer through the IRS, it will actually import that for you if it's around. So but it's good to bring it regardless, just on the event you might need it.
That's excellent. Thanks, Troy. We have documents here relating to income, retirement, investments. When we talk about adjusted gross income, this is the income we're talking about. So any form that says W-2, any form that says 1099, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a little bit. I'm looking also at any records of other income and expenses. Alimony payments is something that I know that comes up sometimes. So speaking of 1099s, it's one of the most common questions we hear at the library around tax time is how do I get my Form 1099? And on one hand, it was mailed to you in January at the address the IRS has for you. And if you're receiving Social Security benefits. And on the other hand, if you need a replacement, you have 3 options. We really encourage folks to get an online My Social Security account. It's a secure account that you'll create. It does take a little while to set up, but once you have it, it's the easiest way to get replacement documents, because otherwise you're on the phone to the Social Security Administration, which I understand is pretty difficult to get through, or you're going to try to contact your local security office. So My Social Security account is something I would highly recommend. More documents you might need. We've broken this out into healthcare, education, children, and dependents. You should already have your Form 1095, just in order to be ready for tax season. I just really wanted to highlight too with children and dependents, the total amount paid for the tax year for childcare and the childcare provider's name, address, and tax ID number is something that's going to help you when you try to claim, when you claim some credits that we're going to talk about. So that's something I really want to emphasize right there. Another documents that you're going to need regarding housing and property. This is the Missouri Property Tax Credit is something a lot of people can qualify for, and sometimes they don't know exactly how to get it. And so I'm going to emphasize it's Missouri Form 5674. You're going to want to have that signed by your landlord or have a landlord on your a letter from your landlord with that same information. I've included a link to that form in that same resource packet that I linked in the chat and that we'll send out. Maybe you're wondering, am I eligible for the Missouri Property Tax Credit? You are if you are a low-income household, or if you're someone over 65, if you're someone who has 100% disability. Those are the basic rules of eligibility for the Missouri Property Tax Credit. And I think that's, yeah, excellent. Some more documents you might need. We're referring to these about your advance payments or the recovery rebates, just because this is something a little different that we're looking at this year. So letter 6419 for the advanced child tax credit, the letter 6475 that will confirm the total amount of the third IEP payment, and your notice 1444C about your third economic impact payment. Maybe you have some questions about the child tax credit, which this year I think we're referring to mostly as the advanced child tax credit, because you may have already received part of the child tax credit. That letter 6419 is something that you're going to want to bring with you when you file your taxes in order to receive the other half. Just wanted to share a little bit more about that, about the advanced child tax credit. Half of the total amount was already paid monthly last year, July through December. And then of course you're claiming the other half when you're filing your 2021 taxes. Troy, have you had any experience with this, with helping people with that?
Most people, it's not been that difficult in the tax slayer program that we use. I mean, it asks the questions, just walks you through it.
Okay.
So it hasn't been too much of a challenge. If they manage to keep track of, the letter that they received, makes it a lot easier.
Excellent. All right, thanks very much. The child and dependent care credit, that's what we're talking about with wanting to have that information about your child care provider. They do have a note here about demonstrating that you put effort into attempting to find the child care provider's information. I would just do everything you could to obtain that information. It could just be as simple as asking your child care provider. But the idea too is that this is something where this credit was increased over 2021. And so if you spent money on child care services, child care expenses while you were working or actively looking for work, you have a higher portion this year that you can get reimbursed. Oh my goodness, all the talk about the economic impact payments, the stimulus checks that were coming through. This was something a lot of people wanted to try to keep track of, wanted to try to find. That third economic impact payment was issued before last year ended. So here we are in 2022, and that notice 1444C is one that you really want to keep with you because you'll need to have that. You'll need to have that amount. From what I understand from the IRS websites and from some news, from some of the news releases that they've shared, is that if you didn't receive the most recent, that third economic impact payment, you can claim it. But that's why you're going to want to also have that information handy when you either file on your own or if you have a tax expert file with you or for you. One more credit, the earned income tax credit. This is really important. I think a lot of people who are eligible for this don't realize that they are. There was a nationwide push the end of last month to really highlight there's the earned income tax credit. Make sure you claim it. And of course, two of the basic requirements are that you earned income. And of course, the other one is that you are a US citizen or resident alien all year. Resident alien is a very strange way of phrasing that, but and of course, a valid social security number. So 3 big things that you're going to need to have to claim it, but make sure that you do. And on IRS.gov, you can even verify your eligibility for this earned income tax credit. Now I think that's everything I was going to cover for credits and all that information. Now I'm on sort of to hopefully what will be the fun stuff, which is another big question we have. When can I expect my refund? Where is my refund? And what I have done with patrons in years past is say, let's go to IRS.gov and I'll show you how you can find this. And again, when you go to IRS.gov, just the third one over, the third tab over is refunds. And if you click, where's my refund? You will be prompted to enter information and then they can say, here's the story. And I see that we do have a question in the chat. Do you have to have a yes on all the statements for the tax earned income? I'm not sure if I understand the question. Oh, I see. Are you saying that? Let me go back to this slide. Thanks. I would defer to Troy for this question. Yep. Troy,
well, let me take a quick peek at what all's on the slide. Different than content impression.
I feel like that's
yes,
an all.
I think the only thing that might not be, I mean, I think you could also, and of course, my brain is not coming up with the term I want. For most folks, it's a social security number. It might be an ITIN. Potentially instead, but yes.
We're going to go with that's a yes for all of those.
Yeah, you need all of those to be yes, to be able to get the full earned income tax credit. Yeah.
Okay, and there is also an eligibility calculator on IRS.gov, and I can share that in the chat in just a little bit too. That's really yeah, sure thing. That's definitely something you'd want to check out with, at a reliable source like IRS.gov. Okay, yeah, so for the refunds, this is where you will go. But just when you enter your information for the refund status, it will spit out for you. It will tell you, here's when you can expect it. But the long and the short of it, Troy, I appreciated what you said about how long it's taking for refunds to come if you did it by check. One of the things I noticed on IRS.gov is if you file by mail, if you send a paper copy to the IRS in DC, they're going to take 6 to 8 weeks to even process your return. If you missed it earlier in the presentation, Troy was sharing, they're still processing tax refunds from 2020 that were mailed in. Is that right, Troy?
Yeah, and that was an email earlier this week from the IRS that I get where they mentioned that, yeah, please encourage clients to, if at all possible, go with direct deposit because they are still processing 2020. So the easier you can make it for them to give you money, the faster you'll get it.
And also doing it online if you see on the left-hand side, all of this is from IRS.gov. They're saying we're going to get this to you within 3 weeks after we receive your return. They're saying even faster if you have that direct deposit into your checking or savings account. So I feel like we flew through this. And so if there's any other questions, I know sometimes it's been helpful too if we stop the recording and then we go to the different websites and we try things out. And I think that's where I'm tempted to go. Troy, Rhiannon, do you have any other comments before we close out?
I do not, other than just to point out there with the contact information, that phone number or via email, if you are confident that you could self-file with a little bit of assistance, that's what the site at Metro Lutheran is for. And those appointments, depending upon when you need one, we can get folks in relatively quickly. And just, that's why we're here. So if somebody's in that position and needs that assistance, give me a call.
I think I'm good. Thank you both.
All right, great. Thank you so very much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and we'll work with the folks who are with us here today. Please do feel free to reach out, especially if you'd like to have a copy of the resource list that we created for you, specifically for this presentation. And thanks for listening.